Okay, so I'm sorry, just put a little more light here. Like last week, we started the topic of speaking mediums, actually completed speaking mediums, I'm sorry. And we started the seeing mediums, which we're going to finish today. And we saw that there is a little bit of a challenge to deal with seeing because some individuals have an ability to see spirits, to see the spiritual dimension, but cannot be in our understanding, and most of us would agree, although some will contest, that not all of those who see the spirit and see the spiritual world can be considered as medium because they do not act as an intermediary. They only see. I mean, as use only here very loosely because I think just to see the spiritual world is a lot already, especially for someone who does not understand. Actually, imagine it might be a very difficult trial to be witnessing two planes of existence at the same time, if one is not enough. But will you consider the clairvoyances, the direct seeing, as not being a true mediumship? But there are also mediums who see the spiritual world and act as an intermediary. And we're going to see a very good example soon here on how that can take place. And also important to remember that usually the faculties of a medium are not limited to one thing. So very often a medium in a mediumistic trance may be primarily a medium, or say, of psychography or psychophony, but also may have the ability of seeing. And actually that we see very often, that in a mediumship meeting, while one medium is in trance performing a psychophony, the other mediums are also in a state of mediumistic trance. And very often they will report that they see the spirits, the spirit that's communicating, that they see partially or completely the environment where the spirit is. They're able to report what they see. So the seeing part of the mediumship seems to be wide open for mediums of primarily of different functions, being psychography or psychophony or anything else. Okay, and today we're going to continue at 170, and we're going to see a good example of the value of someone who is able to see the spiritual world. Right?
I'm here. Okay. 170. Here is another event that proves the influence that spirits exert upon humans without their knowing about it. We were watching a theatrical performance like the other one, but with another scene medium. While we were conversing with a spirit spectator, it told us, "Do you see those two ladies by themselves in that box in the first tier?" Okay. Well, I am going to make them leave the occurring, making, okay, leave the theater. Okay. He then entered the ladies' box and began to talk to them. They had been attentively watching the show when they suddenly looked at each other, seemed to consult each other, then left and did not return. The spirit then gave us a merry gesture, meaning he had fulfilled his word, but we did not see him again to ask him for more explanations. In this manner, we have often been witnesses of the role that spirits play among the living. We have observed them in many places where people gather, dancers, dancing, dancers, concerts, sermons, funerals, weddings, etc. And everywhere we have found them stimulating evil passions, inciting discord, exciting disputes, and rejoicing with their exploits. Others, on the contrary, fight this harmful influence, but they are rarely listened to.
Okay, the significance of this passage is, remember, Kardec was there with a seeing medium, okay, and a spirit said that he would go to the two ladies and make them leave the theater. They were there watching whatever they were watching. A few minutes later, those ladies got up and leave the the event. The only way that we could be certain that those ladies left the theater because of that spirit is because there was a seeing medium over there that witnessed that spirit go over there, influence those ladies somehow. Don't know what he said, don't know what he did, but without a seeing medium over there, Kardec could not in any way say those ladies left the theater because of spiritual influence. Even if a spirit have come and told him, and eventually those ladies would get up and leave the theater. But because there was a seeing medium over there to witness, to see the whole thing taking place, then Kardec could say, indeed, that's what it happens. So the significance of a seeing medium is very good at that point. They may be able to describe events that's happening in that precise time in the spiritual world. They may be helpful. Let's say in a mediumship meeting. Let's say the dialogue is trying to have a conversation with the spirit, is trying to calm down with spirit, is trying to have the spirit to be more malleable, to accept a little bit more the things that's being said. If there is a seeing medium who can in, who may be able to come in and tells us something that may be important for that spirit, it will help the dialogue tremendously. Let's assume the that I'm playing the role of the dialoguer, and someone comes and tells me, "Oh, that spirit is carrying a little child." It seems to be a middle-aged woman carrying a little child in her arms. That would be extremely valuable for the dialoguer to continue its conversation. Or he says that that spirit who is talking through him has both his arms tied on his back. That would be very significant, very helpful. So there is tremendous amount of contribution from a seeing medium in some events that will make that seeing person a medium, because now this person is being an intermediary. Now this person is bring important information from the spiritual world to the physical world. In this case, from the spiritual world passing to the dialoguer, which will be very valuable, very important to help that spirit. Not to help the dialoguer, or to help the dialoguer to help that spirit. In this scenario, at least in my eyes, that seeing that person who sees the spiritual world is a medium because it's functioning as an intermediary. Okay.
Mm.
Yeah. If no comments, I can proceed.
Okay. 171. The faculty for seeing spirits can undoubtedly be developed, but it is one of those whose development should proceed naturally without being artificially stimulated in order to avoid being exposed to illusions of the imagination. When we possess the seed of a faculty, it will sprout by itself. As a rule, we should be content with the abilities that God has granted us and not seek the impossible. Because if we want even more, we run the risk of losing what we already have. When we mentioned that the cases involving spontaneous apparitions frequently occur, we do not mean that they are very common. Those involving seeing mediums per se are even rarer, and we have many reasons for distrusting those who claim to have the faculty. One is prudent not to trust them without positive proof. We are not referring to those who feed the ridiculous illusion of globular spirits, which we described in number 108, but those who claim to see spirits in a more rational manner. Some persons could undoubtedly be sincere, though mistaken, but others may simulate the faculty out of vanity or for ulterior motives. In judging such cases, we must pay special attention to the person's character, morality, and sincerity. However, it is especially in the details of the circumstances we find the surest means of appraisal. There are circumstances that can lead, no doubt, such as those involving exact descriptions of spirits who the medium never had the opportunity to know when they were incarnate. The following case belongs to this category. A widow lady whose late husband frequently communicated with her met a seeing medium one day who did not know her or her family. The medium said to her, "I see a spirit beside you." "Oh," replied the lady, "that is probably my husband, who almost never leaves me." "No," responded the medium, "it is a lady of a certain age who has a strange hairdo and who is wearing a white headband." Because of this particularity and other descriptive details, the widow fully recognized her grandmother, whom she had not even been thinking about at that time. If the medium had only been faking the faculty, it would have been easier to follow the widow's suggestion. But instead of the husband whom she had been thinking about, he saw a woman with a unique hairdo of which he could have had no idea. Moreover, this case proves that what the medium saw was not a reflection of any outside thought.
Okay.
Okay.
So the significance of this passage is there's two folds over here.
Mm.
One, Kardec is asking us for two things. One, allow those processes of development of mediumistic abilities to happen in a natural way. Do not force things. Do not precipitate anything. We have free will. We can choose to do things our own way. If you do have the organic disposition for some kinds of mediumship, we may go and work on it and develop it. But if you choose to use mediumship as an instrument for moral growth and as an instrument to be helpful to others in the exercise of charity, let it happen naturally. The good spirits that they have means to lock and unlock things, potentials, tools within us,
mm,
when is the right time? When we are ripened, when we are properly educated to perform certain functions for the benefit of everyone, primarily for the medium first, and secondary for through whom this medium may be able to assist.
mm,
To try to rush things, to try to go beyond the or above the prudency of our spiritual benefactors, perhaps they'll say, you want to go and do it? Go ahead.
mm,
And we may find ourselves in difficult situations. I remember Kardec, Divaldo tell the story of this person who was a spiritist, used to go to the meetings with Divaldo. I don't know if it was mediumship meetings or not. And his greatest wish in life was be able to see spirits. He keep bothering
mm,
um, Divaldo. I want to see spirits. I'm right. I can do it. I can see spirits, and and keep asking Devout, how can I do it? How can I develop Cadex? And Devout say, I don't know. If you don't have it, you don't have it. Why do you have to push it so hard? I want to see. I want to see it. And one day in the middle of the night, this guy rushes into Divaldo's home place, white, ready to faint, with some bleeding on his face, and knocks at Divaldo, say, I saw a spirit, I saw a spirit. I was shaving myself, and when I look in the mirror, I saw there was another one behind me. I got so frightened, I almost decapitated myself with a blade. So things happens at a
mm,
proper time if we all follow the process to go naturally and
mm,
do not force it. If you force it, we place ourselves at the risk of doing of being exposed to things that are not really prepared yet. If you can remember again, André Luiz in Osula, keep asking, I want to go see my family, I want to go see my family. And the guy will say, no, not ready yet. Give it some time. And even when he was allowed to go, where they felt he was ready to go, he was in shock, was a lot more difficult. So think has a time to play to happen, and if you are doing the right work, allow it to happen naturally. Do not force. If you have the disposition and you force it, it may happen, but you will expose yourself to troubles. And another warning of Kardec here is he's always bringing this warning to us is be careful before you start believing in everything. Uh, Reason is the foundation of the doctrine. Everything is based on reason. I always say, mediumship, mediumistic phenomena, a spiritual phenomena is diagnosis of exclusion. After you rule out everything else, any other possible physical material cause, and all of them are ruled out, then yes, we consider that it may come from the spiritual world. It may be indeed a mediumistic event. Be careful. Be careful with seeing mirrors come and tell us all kinds of things. I see this, I said that. We entered the global spirits already. We covered that. All the many natural effects in nature that individuals will look at it because they cannot explain, they don't understand the physical causes of it. They attribute it to spirits, not out of evil, but just out of not understanding things. People got so fixated spirituality, in spiritus, in mediumship,
mm,
that now they see things that can be easily explained as a physical phenomena, and they attribute to as a spiritual phenomena. You need to be intelligent. You need to be careful. And the other way also, we should not be completely shutting the door of everything. Say, no, it cannot be spiritual, cannot be mediumship. Again, be reasonable. And the example of this widow is a very good one. There is a spirit next to you. There is, oh, it's my husband. He's always around. And if it's a fake, the guy would go along. Oh yeah, it's your husband. He looks very good. He's so well. He's so happy by your side. And no, he was truthful. Said no, it's not your husband. It's a woman. It's an older woman with a weird hairdo, and describe the woman with enough details of clarity that the lady is able to recognize her being her grandmother. That is a case that is, it brings truth. It brings truth to the fact that that is a real seeing medium. The degree of details that he gave, there was allowed that lady to recognize that spirit as being her grandmother, and not going along with the husband's story brings at least a very high probability of being truthful. So again, reason, thinking, put your brain to work, and don't be too radical to the left, believing in everything, too radical to the right, denying everything. In the middle, probably we're gonna get it right.
Mm.
So these are very good three warnings from Kardec that you may use for everything, not only for seeing mediums, for everything that deals with spirituality, that deals with mediumship. Question, comments? Okay, you're ready for the next.
Yes. Okay. Somnambulistic mediums, 172. Somnambulism can be considered as a variety of mediumistic faculty, or rather, we should say that these two types of phenomena are frequently found together. Somnambulists act under the influence of their own spirit. It is their own soul who, in moments of emancipation, sees, hears, and perceives beyond the limits of the senses. What they express proceeds from themselves. Their ideas are generally more correct than during their normal state, and their knowledge is broader since their soul is free. In other words, they live in anticipation of the spirit life. Mediums, on the other hand, serve as instruments for an outside intelligence. They are passive, and what they express is not their own. In some, somnambulists express their own thoughts, while mediums express the thoughts of others. However, the spirit who communicates through an ordinary medium might also do so through a somnambulist. Frequently, the same state of the soul's emancipation during somnambulism makes spirit communication easier. Many somnambulists see spirits perfectly well and describe them with the same precision as seeing mediums. They can converse with them and transmit their thought to us. Thus, what they say beyond the circle of their personal knowledge is almost always suggested to them by other spirits. The following is a notable example involving the simultaneous action of the somnambulist spirit and another spirit who reveals itself unequivocally.
Thanks.
Okay.
The word somnambulism, somnambulistic, gives me heartburn. Every time I find that word, it gives me problems. Every time that I read this book, when it comes to somnambulism, I say, I understand this very well, and then I read, now I don't understand this, and I say, no, I think now I got it. And probably next year, we're gonna go to the same problem with this.
Mm.
Kardec says we are somnambulistic mediums. And
Mm.
then he goes to describe in the very beginning animism. And he says, these are not mediums. Okay, that's exactly what he says here, right? Somnambulism can be considered as a variety of mediumistic faculty, or rather, we should say, or rather, okay, or rather, we should say these two types of phenomena are frequently found together. So he already say two types of phenomena. Which two types of phenomena are talking about? One is somnambulistic ability, the one is mediumship ability. So are they one and the same? Of course not, otherwise it would not be two types, right? So he's making here differentiation of somnambulistic faculty from mediumship, right? Somnambulistic act under the influence of the own spirit. That tells us what? Animism, right? From oneself. Anima, alma, from your own soul, right? It is their soul who, in moments of emancipation, see, hears, and perceives beyond the limits of the senses. So again, anemic, not mediumistic. There is not a third party involved. There is just me and myself in this faculty here. In the state, in a somnambulic state, this individual will have ideas that, again, I read again, are generally more correct than during the normal state, and the knowledge is broader since their soul is free. In other words, they live in anticipation of the spirit life. So, in other words, this, in a somnambulic state, in the process of an animism, I can retrieve informations that I, the eternal spirit, playing the role of Elmo, do not have access to that when I'm playing the role of Elmo. But I, the eternal spirit, have played many different roles and have accumulated many other experience and knowledges that I am not able to express right now because it's not the role that I'm playing, because they do not contribute for the things that I need to accomplish in this reincarnation. But I, eternal spirit, I am a lot more than Elmo. In a somnambulistic state, I'm able to retrieve some of those knowledges that is somewhat safeguarded while I'm playing the role of Elmo. So at this point here, any questions? It's very important to understand this because they understand that Kardec's, Kardec's sonambulistic medium when they says que está talking about animism. And we already have agreed that in order to be a medium, we need to be an intermediary between the two planes of existence, right?
Mm.
So why does he call it somnambulistic mediums if these are anemic processes? So he continues. Mediums, on the other hand, serve as instruments of an outside intelligence. They are passive, and what they express is not their own. So far, so good, right? Kardec now show us two different processes, two different faculties. One, retrieve information from oneself, one being an intermediary of a third party, one who speaks or writes knowledge from or feelings of other spirits other than him or herself. There's two things here. Now come this thing. However, the spirit who communicates through an ordinary medium might also do so through a somnambulistic. Now, things start to get intertwined here, right? So now it's the somnambulist now can also be a medium. Basically, that's what it's saying here.
Mm.
The somnambulist can also be a medium or act as a medium because a spirit can also communicate through a somnambulistic person. Frequently, the same state of the soul's emancipation during somnambulism make spirit communication easier. Now, for most mediumship phenomena take place, what happens in that mediumistic trance? That is a certain expansion of the perispirit, right? That's why we say, right? The perispirit sub expands, gains a little freedom from the physical body, which allows it to have the perispirit and the spirit to have greater interaction with the spiritual world because it is less um, associated with the dense matter. This is exactly what the somnambulist does in order to perform the anemic faculty. So while during this somnambulistic state, while it is with its perispirits expanded farther out from the physical body, a little more than usual, far away from the physical body, it can be an instrument that all the spirits can also utilize. That's why Kardec call it the somnambulistic mediums. Although primarily they are performers of anemic processes in a state of trance, in a state of emancipation of the perispirit spirit complex, it all the spirits can use that opportunity and pass their thoughts and interact with that um, person medium, and therefore that person may act as a medium. Did I make it more difficult with questions? Because I had to read this twice today again for and many times as I read this thing already.
Elmo, thank you. It's very, very helpful. Very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think the next time you do this, we're gonna have the same trouble getting this
Right.
somnambulic thing.
I know. Wow.
Okay.
So many somnambulistic see spirits, sure, because they are in a state that they are more, their senses, it's more connected at this time to the spirit dimension than to the physical dimension. They will see spirits, they will hear spirits, they may perceive the thoughts of the spirit in many different ways. So they will be able to report, to pass it to us. And therefore they act as mediums. So let's assume, go to a mediumship meeting, and then let's assume that I'm a medium. And let's assume that in my previous reincarnation, I was a Napoleon soldier. And in that mediumship medium, I'm acting as a medium.
Mhm.
Every week, I come and talking about my death in the fields or my association with the soldiers of Napoleon or my association with my um, with the goals of the French Revolution. Every week, the same thing. One will suspect that is an anemic process going on. There is a somnambulistic process going on. We will deduce that through reason, because every week, Elmo in a state of trance retrieves that same spirit. Well, that same spirit likely is Elmo himself. Does it make sense?
Mm.
No. Is it wrong? Absolutely not. Is it bad? Absolutely not. Mediumship meeting, spiritism is there to help individuals, right? Maybe Elmo needs help in that thing. Maybe something that is troubling Elmo a lot. And in that mediumship meeting, as Elmo brings that same part of Elmo, the, the eternal spirit now, and he has a conversation with a dialoguer, Elmo is being treated the same way that any other spirit is treated. So there is nothing wrong with that. There is no reason to censor the medium. We are there to serve the same way, being anemic process or not. I'm putting this parenthesis because it happens, it has happened, and it's important that we understand that. But I, Elmo the medium, who goes into this somnambulic state, anemic communications from myself, I may also receive another spirit. I may also receive a suffering spirit and be an instrument to help a second or third party, or may even receive messages from the mentors via psychophony or psychography. But I do have that somnambulistic faculty in which I retrieve information from myself, the eternal spirit, the eternal spirit, for obvious important reasons. It should be addressed the same way I would address any other spirit. Question, comments? Good.
Okay, 173.
Okay.
One of our friends employed as a somnambulist a young boy of 14 or 15 years and of quite low intelligence and extremely limited education. In the somnambulistic state, however, he showed extraordinary lucidity and great astuteness. He displayed his abilities particularly in the treatment of diseases, having performed numerous healings that were otherwise considered incurable. One day, as he was attending a sick man, he described the illness with perfect precision. That is not enough, he was told. Now you must prescribe a remedy. I can't, he responded. My angel doctor isn't here. Who is your angel doctor? The one who prescribes the remedies. Then you yourself don't see the remedies? Oh no, didn't I just say my angel doctor prescribes them? Thus, in the case of this somnambulist, it was his own spirit who saw what the disease was, and it did not need any assistance. But the medical prescriptions were made by another spirit. If the latter was not present, the former could say nothing about them. By himself, he was only a somnambulist assisted by whom he called his angel doctor. He was a somnambulist medium, a somnambulistic medium. Mm.
See, just
Yeah.
excellent example that Kardec brings here.
Yeah.
So this young man, by Kardec's description, with some intellectual deficits, not well educated, in a state of somnambulic state, was able to re retrieve past experiences, past or knowledges that have conquered in past experience. They was able to describe illnesses in the physical body of whoever was present over there. Let me call it the patients over there. Okay, he was able to tell what's wrong with that person, and very often he would prescribe a treatment, whatever treatment may be, of diet or medications or whatever the case may be, right? In that particular day, he was able to describe the pathology, describe the disease, but no prescription, no treatment. And of course, they complained, wait a minute, you tell me what's wrong with me, but you're not going to treat me? They cannot tell me how do I treat this? And the young man said, I can't. My angel doctor is not here. And everybody was shocked. They said, well, but isn't you who sees, right? Isn't you who are the doctor? I said, no, I can only see, I can only tell what's happening with this person, but it is the angel doctor who gives the prescription. It's the angel doctor tells me what to prescribe. So in this case, he's somnambulic. He retrieves information from himself, his ability to see illnesses on the physical body. Now, the ability to see the physical body, other individuals have, okay? But the ability to describe a pathology, that is a step above, right? One must know what is normal in order to understand what's not normal, to say there is a problem there, right? If if I show you let's say the CAT scan of the MRI of someone's spinal cord, you say, yeah, I can see it, but can you tell what's wrong with that? Or if there is anything wrong with that? That is a degree above. You have to have the understanding of spine pathology, right? And this individual had that ability in a state, not somnambulic state, not only to see, but to describe pathologies. But he was not able to prescribe. Or perhaps, I don't know, he was not authorized to prescribe. I don't know. Okay. So he acts as somnambulic, anemic, and recognize the pathologies. And he acts as a medium because another spirit gives the prescription. He tells what the treatment should be. So he is here a somnambulistic medium. Understood? I think with this example, Kardec so smart. Thanks to Kardec, it makes it so easy for us to understand it.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. 174. The lucidity of the somnambulistic faculty is one that depends on the organism, and so it is independent of the elevation, advancement, and moral condition of the subject. As a result, somnambulists may be very lucid but incapable of resolving certain issues if their spirit is little advanced. Somnambulists who speak by themselves may therefore say good and bad, true or false things, and use greater or lesser delicacy and scruples in their procedures, depending on the degree of elevation of inferiority of their own spirit. In these cases, the assistance of another spirit may overcome their deficiencies. However, as is the case with mediums, somnambulists can also be assisted by lying, frivolous, and even evil spirits. This is where the somnambulist's moral qualities have an especially large influence in order to attract good spirits. Okay.
So this is something that we always going to have to come back to, and that's a note that it should be playing consistently when you speak of mediumship, is the notion that a tool is only a tool. A tool is neutral, it's not good, it's not bad. Nuclear medicine is wonderful when it's used to provide energy to a hospital, and it's not so good when it's used to produce atomic bomb. It's the same nuclear energy. A kitchen knife, when it's used for cooking, is a wonderful instrument, but it may be used to hurt someone as well. All those faculties that we speak about here, being mediumistic, being anemic, being somnambulic, are neutral in its nature, and they are only provided to us to serve as a good instrument. Is only given to us to serve us for our advancement, and in this process bring advancement to others. But in order to use it, we need to develop the skills to use it properly. Put the good, wonderful knife in the hands of a 4-year-old and ask them to cut some steaks for you or fillet a fish, maybe a little dangerous thing. You need to teach how to use that knife, how to fillet a fish, how to cut a steak. You need to go to the theory first and go to the practices slowly, step by step, until someone will be able to fillet a fish. But the knife is the same. And those attributes, those tools that God places in our hand are the same thing. You need to learn, you develop the skills. A knife in the hand of someone who has no malicious intention, no malicious ideas is a wonderful thing. A knife in the hand of someone who has violent thoughts, it may be a dangerous instrument. So basically what will qualify, so to say, the attributes of the mediumship, of the animism, is the moral qualities of that person who has it. Someone who is more morally evolved use only for good, and who will naturally be surrounded and associated with spirits with the same objective, to do good, to perform good things. A spirit, a medium, or anyone else with less noble thoughts, someone who is still more ignorant, morally speaking, will associate with spirits of the same kind, and this instrument, that tool will be used for the same kinds of goals and objectives that this medium slash person and the spirits that surround that person. So the moral advancement is the most important thing at all times when dealing with these tools that we have in our hand. One, for us ourselves, we will only seek to use it for good things. Therefore, we associate ourselves with good spirits who also want to do good things. And unfortunately, the opposite is also true. And that's why in spiritism, we usually say the expression mediumship with Jesus. So mediumship as an instrument for the exercise of charity. And if you have that in mind, regardless of what kind of mediumship you have or animism, it will be a good tool. It will be something that will bring good for oneself and to others. And again, this is a note that you should come back to it every single time. Never forget that. Because as much as we're talking about here of the scientific aspect of the doctrine, the moral is still the fundamental, the most important thing. The teachings of Christ is the most important thing above everything that we're speaking here. Because without that, we may misuse the scientific part of the doctrine. Okay? Questions, comments?
Okay.
Yes, Elmo. In animism, does this require a light trance or a heavy trance, or just no trance? I kind of forgot. If you could maybe enlighten me on that. Thank you.
In general, it would be more than just a light trance. I don't know if I could put several degrees on the level of trance, but it implies that we have been, during the somnambulistic event, somewhat further disconnected from the physical body. So I would imagine that it requires a deeper level of trance. For you to be able to retrieve information and knowledges that you do not carry in your unconscious mind, to retrieve this information from your, I don't know what, the subconscious, but something that is yours, but it's yours from previous reincarnations, will require a deeper level of trance than just a light one. How deep it needs to be, I won't be able to tell.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Elmo.
Continue, Elmo.
I don't know if we should continue. I want 4 minutes left. Start
Yeah.
a new subject that it's
Healing
interesting.
medium.
Yeah.
Healing medium is very interesting. It should bring the curiosity of many. So yeah, I agree. Is there any comments, any question? I think that's not clear.
I think when we talk about somnambulism, it's always hard, right? Because the first thing we think of is sleepwalking.
Sleep and walking, yeah.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with what we're discussing here. But we keep coming back to this, right? We should have already learned, but we keep coming back. But
I swear, every time I see the word somnambulism, I start having palpitations. Oh boy, here we go.
yeah. But can you imagine in Portuguese that it doesn't have different words?
Yeah.
There's no sleepwalking in Portuguese, so
Yeah.
they struggle more.
Okay, so let's do our final prayer.
That is the final prayer. To our dearly beloved Father, our Christ, our teacher, our spiritual benefactors, as we all gather here tonight again, and giving us all the necessities of understanding who we are, enlightening our pathway to understand all that has been given to us here. The gratitude of the teachers that continue to work with us with patience and fortitude, we are so grateful. We thank you for the spiritual assistance and guidance. May we take all that we've learned here today, continue throughout the week, reviewing, going over it, until we understand it deep in our hearts. That will help us throughout our days here on this planet Earth and forevermore, to help the spiritual world and our physical life here. We are so grateful. We thank you, dear Lord. We ask as we leave here today to continue throughout the week with our prayers, to help all those that are in need, still going through difficulties through this pandemic, even though it seems like it's easing out a little bit, but we must continue protecting and guiding and doing all that we must do. With our Father's help, we cannot fail. So we thank you, dear Lord. May you continue to bless the Spiritist Group of New York, the teachers, mentors, all throughout the week until we meet again. And with that in mind, dear Lord, we ask permission to close our meeting tonight. So be it.
So be it.